Hi, I am Manoj Rajan. I belong to the Indian Forest Service of the 1999 batch. Now, to give you a small glimpse of my background, my father hails from Tamil Nadu but settled in Bangalore, so my early days were in Bangalore. I did my education in one of the top schools of Bangalore. To name them, St. German's High School was one, Lowry Memorial High School was another. Up till 8th standard, my bringing up was in a metropolitan city. But my dad was working in a multinational company, decided for whatever reasons that time that he needs to shift us to our mother's native place. So my mother hails from Karnataka in a village, small village by name Agraharam from Bangarpet Taluk, which borders Chittoor, Andhra Pradesh. So mother from Karnataka, father from Tamil Nadu, but my mother tongue was Telugu. So I was made to move towards my village, which is a small hamlet by name Agraharam, having around 250 families. So the journey from a metro moving to a village brought in huge experiences. The change was completely different. But again, the living in a village setup brought a new set of experiences and challenges, as well as huge amount of learning for me, to name. So I started my 9th standard in a school by name Sumati Jain High School in KGF. I used to travel 14 kilometers from this village Agraharam to KGF, was a small town. So this 14 kilometers of journey was in a bus, a private bus. We used to call it the SMT bus out over here. So they're sitting around with all kind of people, certain fellows bringing vegetables, certain fellows bringing chicken to sell, certain fellows bringing sheep to sell, and certain fellows going for ABCD works, bringing fertilizers, so on and so forth. So the journey, early day morning journey from this village to KGF, 45 minutes of journey was in this bus, and there was a lot of experiences which we are learning. One of the reasons why father put us to this village was to have a different perspective of life, have an entrepreneurial set of mind, and then our entrepreneurial journey starts. So in our agriculture land, we grew coconuts, we grew sericulture, we had dairy. Now to talk about dairy, we had around 50 hybrid animals being reared in our farmhouse there. So me and my brother Dilip, we two were the major stakeholders here, maintaining the entire farm. Now these 50 animals brought us huge amount of learning, challenges, hard work and determination. To name them, early morning our journey starts at 3:30 in the morning, where you need to wake up along with the laborers and see that the animals are milked properly. Now the milk which has been milked properly have to be disposed of to the dairies. And after that, at 7 o'clock starts the time where we start washing the animals, feeding the animals with food, dry fodder as well as wet fodder, then taking them out and then running to school. And after you come back from school, you have the second set of evening milking, disposing of the milk, so on and so forth. This was a day's rigmarole, how we were brought up during my period when I was studying my 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th and up till degree. Now this diary not only gave me the actual aspects of how a farm exists, it also taught about man management, it also taught about the problems farmers face, how do they milk their animals, so on and so forth. We learned about treating the animals, we learned about much more about animal husbandry. We had poultry, we had sheep rearing, so on and so forth. On the other side, sericulture was another thing which we started off. So sericulture gave a different set of experiences. Not only do you be very sure on raising the crop, you start rearing the silkworms, and after rearing the silkworms, the cocoons have to be sold in the markets. So the market dynamics gave a different perspective to see how a farmer during his journey to the market faces so much of troubles. No proper pricing, no price signals, then opaque price discovery mechanisms, so on and so forth. So that is something which stuck in my mind, that I should do something in the agriculture markets. So this is another thing. So I will try to knit the story that what I learned in my childhood days, how I could do or contribute something in my professional days. So I spoke about sericulture. So sericulture also said that once you start rearing the crop, the risk is that you get a membrane, you get a virus, so that the entire crop is washed out. You learn to take challenges, you learn to take failures also in this process. So sericulture gave me that set of things. Another entrepreneurial activity we took up in our childhood days was agarbatti factory. We had an agarbatti factory wherein we used to get the raw jigit from Bangalore. which is traveling around 100 odd kilometers to my farm, and then mix this jigit powder and charcoal powder in right precision, and then the bamboo sticks distributed to various people to start rolling the agarbattis. Now this, we had around 400 people working for us. This gave a new different set of dimension. Going to them, giving them the raw material powder, and then collecting the finished goods, quality maintenance, looking at HR, making payments to them, stopping fraudulent practices, the challenges they faced. So entire thing was a nice learning experience for me as my childhood days. So I'm trying to put forth before you all a decision of moving from Bengaluru to a village gave me exposure to so many things which actually built my self-confidence, which motivated me, which wanted me to do something for the society, something to change, something to improve upon. So with this agarbatti factory on one side, dairy on another side, sericulture on the other side, agriculture, we also had 3 vehicles where we used to send them for transportation business. We also chipped into phenol manufacturing, and I have sold phenol manufacturing in hospitals and little small offices across KGF. So this was on one set of my exposure. If you look at my education, I did my graduation from Kolar Goldfields First Grade College. Now, if you ask me why did I choose geology, in fact, in our farming days, to have a borewell point to choose a right place to get this underground water, we need to call a geologist. So the geologist who came from KGF not only was brought in a car to my village in our car, apart from seeing 3 points for me, he saw 3 other points for another few farmers around, and he made a cool 3,000 rupees at that point of time. 3,000 rupees in 1990 was a big amount. So that struck my mind. Geology is such a luxuriant profession, so why not I study geology? So then I took up my graduation in geology. In fact, I topped geology in KGF First Grade College as well as Bangalore University in my graduation, which pushed me to take my post-graduation in Mysore University. And in Mysore University is the moment where we started looking into different aspects of job, so on and so forth. So in one such encounter, when I had to visit one of the forest areas, the Gopal Swami Betta to be precise, we were stopped from entering that area, but whereas others were allowed. When we asked them, they said there are forest officers, they can go, you cannot go. So then is when I made up my mind that I should enter forest service, and then is when I took up the state forest services exam, and then here is where I am today. If you look at why I gave you my background, this is precisely to tell you that with whatever background I have grown in, the resources which I had, each one of you would be placed similarly in a better position or something little more similar position than I. If I could clear the civil service exam, the first lesson is that if he could do it, why not I? So carry that message with you, saying that nothing is impossible. The never die attitude is the first triggering point for you to embark your journey in civil services. Now, as I said, after my post-graduation in Mysore, in fact, during the post-graduation in Mysore, one of a senior forest service officer said, it is so simple to prepare your exams, and then he gave us a clue saying that pick up the last few years question papers and then start your practice. Now, if you take my case out over here, unlike you hear others who say that they went for coaching classes, they had 3-4 attempts, they started early. Mine was a completely different journey. In fact, I would want to give you this perspective to say that I never went for any coaching classes. But what I did was completely different. Just taking clue from the senior who told me, I brought all the last 10 years question papers for the Indian Forest Service exam. And after that, I then kept the syllabus inside. Then I took up the statistics of what marks people have got to enter into the civil services. So if you look at the entry into the civil services, 55 to 65% is enough for you to clear the exams. So there is where I built my strategy. So what was my strategy? Now my strategy was like this, that if there are 10 chapters to study, the syllabus contains 10 chapters. I then look at how each chapter is being asked in the exam. So let us say equally if 10 chapters are having 10 marks each, then I would say if 2 chapters are difficult, I wouldn't even study those 2 chapters. I would focus on these 8 chapters because 80% if I get is more than sufficient. So that was one strategy. So what I did was, taking these question papers, I tried to prepare the most asked questions or most likely questions, keeping it to various factors. What is the current scenario? What are the changes which are happening in the current affairs out over here? So likely that intelligentsia was put into a broad questionnaire. So in these chapters, these may be the questions which are going to be asked. These chapters, these are the questions which are going to be asked. I didn't sit there. Then we started preparing answers for them. So when I said preparing answers, multiple, starting from guides to library books to notes which we studied, I used to make notes, make mind maps. So that was another important thing which I want to tell you, that a mind map which you would remember, your mind would remember. It cannot be somebody else's mind map for you. So your mind map, your images, your points, your notes is what is going to save the day for you. So I started making notes for each of the probable questions they may ask under that chapter, and my entire study material wound up to not more than 800-900 pages. Small notes in 900 pages is what we did. And let me tell you friends, entire preparation for me, in fact, as I said, when I entered the state services, I had a fracture, and it was a matter of 45 days only. 45 days of hard preparation of 16 hours a day is what I say has yielded me to be one of the toppers in the forest services from Karnataka. So here I would say, it is not that you've never prepared from past. It's not that you have to work for 4 years to enter the civil services. It can be in your first attempt that you can clear your civil services. So this requires determination on your side. This requires strategy. Hard work, yes, but smart work is absolutely necessary. The smart work is your strategy. So if you take me for example, the first and foremost thing I did was, how do I divide my hours? So time management is very critical. So at my disposal, if I had 45 days to prepare for my civil services, I divided that each hour, how many hours I'm going to contribute for what chapter. I'm not talking about subject, that chapter. So it's that perfect planning, that this chapter I should finish in 2 hours, this chapter I must finish in 8 hours, was what was laid out. And then you start clearing those things out over here. Your mind is given a target that in 2 hours the mind should digest this information. Let me tell you friends, our mind is just like a computer. The manner in which you index the information in your mind, be it a mind map, be it a formula, be it an whatever method you want to draw it, and you lay it in your mind during exam, you can retrieve it. There's no common formula for everybody. There is very specific formula for every individual. So you should find out what that formula is. How can I remember the answer better? How can I reproduce the answer better? So this is the strategy which I want you all to appreciate, that you make your strategy. You have a solid time plan management. You say which are your questions you're going to write. Before the exam you will decide. If it is a question on algae, fungi, I'm not going to write. But if it is on cytology, I'm going to write. If it is on taxonomy, I'm going to write. So this is my suggestion to you all, saying that break the syllabus, which is your forte. In fact, you have to aim at getting 100% of what you're going to write. That means 80% is your target. I'm not going to say you do 100%. If you look at all toppers, they are in that same range. So my suggestion is that this strategy is very, very important. The second one is, which I strongly believe, was one Bible teacher in my when I was studying in a Seventh-day Adventist school, said that bad thoughts will fly over your head. Bad thoughts will fly over your head. He said, allow the crow to fly over your head, but don't allow it to build a nest in your head. What does this mean? As individuals, bad ideas come into your head. What are the bad ideas? Why should I study? Let me go over here. Let me do this. This unwavered thought process is getting disturbed by many obstacles, bad ideas. Let the ideas, you cannot stop ideas coming into your mind, but don't implement them. So that is where you have a change, that don't allow the crow to build the nest on your head. If you allow it to build a nest on your head, today it will sit, tomorrow it will shit on your head, and there is where your head is going to be. So allow that to wash it away. So you must be very clear, very focused, that if you are going to write civil services for your brother, mother, father or friends, please don't do it. If you want to write it for yourself, please write it. This is the first thing I would say you should be very clear upon. I am writing this exam for myself, and this is the only attempt I am going to give. So these two things, others wouldn't tell you. Others would say you learn from mistakes. And I'm differently telling you that you should make a wholehearted attempt. And the wholehearted attempt is never die attitude that if he can score, I should score. And how are you going to score? Preparation, time management, notes making, and then reproduction. So this is how you should be looking at it. Another thing which I follow normally is that every answer you write for the civil services should be like a doctor. Now, what is this doctor business? So when you go to the doctor, what does the doctor do? You say, doctor, my stomach is paining. That's it. That's the question. Then the doctor asks, open your mouth, checks your thing, your heartbeat, this, and then says what you ate, when will it happen. So he does a diagnosis. And then he comes out with a prescription. So your answer should be something similar. If somebody is asking a question, what is it? Why is it? How is it? Where is it? What is the unique point? What is my prescription? If this formula, while studying, if you can imbibe this formula, and when you write the answer, you write it in this manner, no doubt there will be nobody stopping you from clearing the civil services. So these are some of the points I want to give to my dear friends, that this is my journey, how I did it. No coaching, less number of days, strategic planning, reproduction, and today I have cleared the civil services in my first attempt. So after the training at the academy, my first posting was in the forest department as assistant conservator of forest in Uttar Kannada district, Sirsi. Okay. So here, if you see, I would try to say 2-3 good important new things that I have done during this posting. First is I introduced the dog squads in forest offense case detection. Again, a new innovative method wherein the timber was being smuggled, and then we used to use all our wherewithal to find who the smuggler was. But nevertheless, every forest offense has huge amount of bio sensors which is dropped by the offender, by spit, by sweat, so on and so forth. So with coordination with the police department, introduced the police dog squads to sniff and lead me to the offender. So this was one good thing which I did as assistant conservator of forest, apart from protecting the forest, built around 134 forest offense case detection, and did huge amount of plantation, sandalwood plantation, so on and so forth. So after my forest department posting, I was posted independently as a district project coordinator in Tumkur to handle a community-based tank management system. So again, if you look at my background where I grew up, I could reflect the same thing out over here. I could gel with the rural communities. In fact, Tumkur was a lead district in implementation because all the components of the World Bank, be it gender development, be it tribal development, be it building financial capabilities of the community, and agriculture related stuff. So whatever I learned in my childhood days, with little more scientific backing, I could work with the communities. In fact, around 400 villages is where I worked around very closely for those 2 years to see that their livelihoods are improved. The community livelihood, community as a whole, and tank as a vehicle is being used to see that the livelihoods have been increased. This gave great satisfaction to me. So after this work at Tumkur district, there was a unique project where I was posted as the executive director of Karnataka State Beverages Corporation. So this is another interesting story. Karnataka was infamous for the liquor lobby. The revenue from the liquor segment was around 4,000 crores over the last 10 years, right? So in 2005 when I was posted there, and if you compare from 95 to 2005, the average revenue was 4,000 crores from the liquor sector. So there we have a dynamic officer by name Ramaseshan was the managing director, and I was his executive director. So we then tried to see how you can bring into account every liquor being consumed in the economy. So we know liquor is a demerit good. So then we slashed the duty, we brought it out that compliance is made more on a larger base rather than narrowing the base by increasing the duty. The entire concept was different. We brought in canalization, we brought in regular payments to the distilleries, we brought in accessibilities to the retailers, and then you can see one by one reforms. So one is canalization started, second is removal of wholesalers, and third is abolition of Arak. And by the time I left KSBCL, you can see that 4,000 crores revenue in the excess sector moved to 16,000 crores revenue. So this was a huge revenue jump for the state exchequer, and through this, various welfare other developments were taken up in the state of Karnataka. After that, I was posted to the Election Commission in the state Chief Electoral Officer's office. I worked there for a long period of 6 years. So during this period is where we try to implement technology to a greater extent. In fact, the electoral roll management system started from Karnataka. So we were the first guys wherein we put in the master tables, how an electoral rolls can be generated systematically, how you can run deduplication. In fact, we removed 58 lakh duplicate voters from the electoral roll database. We used technology, we used fuzzy logic. So here I'm trying to tell you that where you see, once you enter the civil service, see the variability of work. One is forest protection, another is community development, then is in corporate sector, and now I'm talking about election commission. So there technology was used to reform how electoral rolls can be seen, and after which the entire country, now you can see the electoral roll management system running. This apart, I have used technology in multiple areas. We were the first to use mobile phones for capturing epic. In fact, the voter database was around 40%, and by the time I left Election Commission, it went up to 98%. So innovative methods we used using technology. In fact, the C-Vigil app was another contribution where I could contribute to see that technology is used, geospatial technology is used to see that we capture information for conducting better and efficient elections. So apart from the Election Commission, then I moved down to be the additional mission director of Sakala. We had a dynamic officer by name Shalini Rajanesh, who was the mission director. I was her additional mission director. From that time, this project is so unique that on a time-bound basis, the citizen should get his services. So again, if you look at my background, that to get a caste certificate, multiple rounds we had to do to get a caste certificate. Similarly, any such services. But here, this project where I was involved, we could see that we would put time frames for each of these services which government is providing. We started with 50 services, and by the time I left, we reached around 798 services from 50 different departments, was strategized, was standardized to say that this is the workflow, this is the time process, and then we made the service to the citizen as a right. So when he brought out the Sakala Act and said, if the government employee doesn't provide the services within the stipulated time, the government employee should pay compensation to the citizen. So this was a wonderful program. Kudos to the mission director Shalini Rajanesh. This project was implemented in full, and we were a recipient of the Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Civil Services, and also I presented this at CAPAM, Commonwealth Association for Public Administration and Management, where you have all the Commonwealth countries. So Karnataka, for the Sakala work, got the CAPAM award in 2014. So after this posting in citizen services, again another dimension, I then moved to BBMP as a special commissioner in charge of finance, in charge of revenue and IT. So in this journey, again, apart from reforming the tax collection system, I established the geospatial enabled property tax information system known as JEPTIS. So from 1600 crores, the revenue of property tax collection by the corporation went up to 2400 crores. We added another 4 lakh houses into this into the new property tax system. Then try to bring in technology to see that tax collection and fraud is being avoided, so that citizens sitting at their home can pay taxes, property taxes out over here. The corporation can get the money in a much more systematic and a transparent manner. Apart from JEPTIS, another interesting project I was given to handle was the Indira Canteen. So Indira Canteen is a very novel project wherein it is to make Bengaluru a hunger-free city. So this was the intent of the Honorable Chief Minister at that point of time. If you look at the urban population, the amount they spend on food, that is breakfast, lunch and dinner, is exorbitantly high compared to the other places. To their earnings, and this food was a mismatch. So hunger prevailed. So I would call it as an elephant in the room. It was the Honorable CM who said that we must tame this elephant. The elephant is hunger. And how do you tame the elephant? By providing good, affordable, hot meals, nutrition, at very affordable prices. And the Honorable Chief Minister decided to give food at 5 rupees breakfast, 10 rupees lunch and 10 rupees dinner. And then that was the project put on BBMP. The BBMP Commissioner Manjunath Prasad, under his leadership, he said that Manoj will chair this Indira Canteen task force. His confidence and his support made the Indira Canteen happen. So as the chairman of the Indira Canteen task force, I was supported with Prahalad as the superintendent engineer and Nandish as an executive engineer and Prasad as these four guys, we four of us then drew out the strategy. How can we bring in Indira Canteens in that short period of 75 days in Bengaluru? So construction strategy was there, food strategy was there, and then who's going to do what? That was big project planning. So private partnership on one side, planning on another side, public media on the other side. So put all together, opportunity was given to me to see that around 2 lakh people get food at affordable price. So this was a very memorable project which I have handled in my career. In fact, this project has given huge, immense self-confidence in me, saying that nothing is impossible. 75 days to build 198 canteens and 20 kitchens is no matter a joke. So this project said, if somebody decides to do something, they can do it. So please carry forward the same message. If you decide you want to be a civil servant, nobody can stop you. It is you who will lead yourself there, and others will tell 101 things that you can't do it. But if you decide to do it, trust me, your barriers which you have put for yourself, your mind can be broken, shattered, and you can reach your goal. Now, after this Indira Canteen project, let me tell you, I was again for a brief stint posted as Chief Conservator of Forest in Aranya Bhavan, wherein there in that period, I tried to bring out the audit manual, how audit should happen in the offices, how you should reply to audit paras, inspection, so on and so forth. Lastly, after this post was another interesting posting in disaster management. I was posted as the Commissioner Disaster Management during the COVID period. Now you see at this period, COVID, there were huge activities happening on the medical front and non-medical front. So on the medical front, it was treating the patients, triaging them, then isolating them, giving them treatment, so on and so forth. On the non-medical side was supply of essential commodities. You knew that we had huge curfews, we had the entire city shut down, the state shut down, country shut down, but essential commodities need to reach. So whom are you going to allow, how we are going to allow, what are the systems which support the essential commodities? So there was huge amount of activities. So at that period is when I was posted as Commissioner Disaster Management, had the opportunity to work with other colleagues out over here. In fact, Vandita Madam as Development Commissioner chaired the entire meetings as far as non-essential related support is concerned, and as far as medical related stuff was there, we had Javed Akhtar Saab as the ACS Health out over here. So we combinedly with Pankaj as the Commissioner Health, we closely worked in to see that we handled the COVID situation. After the COVID situation, unfortunately, Karnataka had 4 years of continuous flooding. I was the Commissioner there. I also headed the Director of Karnataka State Natural Disaster Monitoring Center. So with technology, we tried to see how you can try to bring in solace to the people who are affected by disaster, being preparedness, being mitigation and relief and rescue operations. So at each stage, I try to see how technology can be used, how working in a team can be done, how alerting at the prompt time can happen. So this was another experience that during disaster management worked very closely with lives and livelihoods out over here. As Commissioner Disaster Management, another very interesting activity handled was the Ukraine crisis. So at 8 p.m. The government of Karnataka issues me as the nodal officer to handle the Ukraine crisis, and by next day morning at 10 o'clock I develop a software and release it to the public, saying that anybody who knows people are stranded in Ukraine to inform us in a systematic manner. So here technology was used, and very simply we said the passport is a unique number, and from there we started collecting information. Who is a stranded person, where was he last found, what was his mobile number, so on and so forth. Using this platform, we could reach out effectively to the people staying in Ukraine, saying that this is the latest update from the embassy. Don't look at multiple sources, authentic sources. We get the authentic source and put it up onto this app. app, and then people who were stranded there were completely in touch and sync with the latest information on Ukraine. So this, in around 14-15 flights with proper coordination, as soon as the stranded person lands in India, we brought them back to hometown, gave them the necessary psychosocial counseling, food and all those things, and saw that they reached their hometowns. Similar experience was with Sudan crisis. When Sudan happened, unfortunately more than 400 of our Haki-Piki tribals were stranded in Sudan. Now the thing is, they have a very separate dialect. They don't even understand the local language there. Now to communicate to them in that language, bring them to a centralized place in the war-torn Sudan, and bringing them back was another challenge. So this gave me great satisfaction that for the last man in the line, helping him out to navigate in a disastrous condition to safely back home was another challenge out over here. So thanks to the government of Karnataka for giving me this opportunity. And then one of my favorite posting from the last 10 years I am holding is MD and CEO of Rashtriya E-Market Services. So this is a company which supported the entire government machinery to bring in agriculture market reforms. I was the chairman of the Agriculture Market Reforms Committee. I studied, in fact, whatever I learned in my early days, the market competition, the opacity, then payment related stuff, I tried to bring that in the form of the report and brought out the Agriculture Market Reforms Committee report in 2013. Based on this report, we were the first state in the country to bring out the agriculture market policy. We spoke about online markets, we spoke about online payments, we said on an online platform which is required, we said breaking barriers and making the state into a single market. So all these things were proposed in my report. The government accepted the report, brought in the policy, and then Rashtriya E-Market Services took birth. Since the last 10 years, I'm happy to say, with a small staff of 45 people working in Rashtriya E-Market Services, we have touched a peak of 45,000 crore transaction on the platform annually. So this is an achievement which we have done. We have seen the price rise going up. We have seen transparency in the agriculture market. Based on this model, Government of India and its team visited us for 2 days, and then the ENAM markets have been rolled out. So I also hold the post of Mission Director, Israel Technology-Based Integrated Farming Mission. I had the opportunity to chair the committee. In fact, we have prescribed how we must move into precision farming, how integrated farming should take a role. So sum and substance, my dear friends, I am trying to reach out to you to say that civil service was an entry point. Once you enter in, the opportunities, the challenges, and the satisfaction to serve so many people is immense. And that is sufficient enough for you to say that you must today start planning for your career in the civil services. I wish you all the very, very best to see that I see you as civil services in the coming days. Thank you.